Okay, this week's Toll TV has totally got started because of these fantastic banner holders. They are in various shapes and things, and I'll show you a few more. But we sell the Rocklon, and you can just purchase it at Joann's as well. We sell the Rocklon in these sheets like this. You can use it back or front. There's a smoothish side, and then there's a textured side. We're going to be dry brushing this week, so maybe we want to go ahead and use our textured side in this case. You've got enough material to make either one big banner for like your yard, or this is skinnier, this is only 7 inches wide. So I'm going to lay my pattern over this and cut it out. To get rid of the wrinkles from the folds, what you just do is you just iron it with some steam. I used it all the way up to linen and I got scorching, but I didn't get any black, so I mean I got smoke but no scorching is what I'm trying to say. And then, let's see, you're going to just cut it with scissors. You need to hem the top where this dowel will go in, but you do not need to hem the sides or the bottom unless you desire. You can finish back and front. Don't get too finish crazy on this because the heavier it gets, the less flexible it is. Like this is really flexible. But if you start varnishing and varnishing and varnishing, it gets kind of stiff, and then it starts feeling a little bit more structured. And then if you bend it, you can crack it. So you want to make sure that you leave your finishes minimal. Okay, so don't do it 20 coats of paint and stuff. Okay, and then, so let's show you some other toppers. Okay, I've got them littered everywhere here. We've got fantastically wonderful roosters. And of course, we've got to have our Halloween. Can't you see? And see, some of these are very long, and then some are just narrower. You could hang any stuff that you wanted to. The thing I like about these skinny ones, you can hang them by your door, or you can hang them on the cabinet, you know, the skinny ends of the cabinet. They just fit in some really neat spots. We've got them for all the seasons. This one here, the Believe, it has over-the-door hook things, like a wreath, so that you would hang this and it would hook right on the over-the-door part for you. And you can actually adapt the other banner hangers to be over-the-door ones too. We've got these adapters. We've got this lovely angel and little church motif. We've got a couple of unusual ones. This one is a tri-banner holder, so it's got 3 places to hang 3 little banners, and they could say something or, you know, whatever kind of artwork you wanted. And then we've got the standing one. This one is a triptych. And so what you would do is you would hang, oops, you would take it apart. This is a little tabletop triptych. And so on your fireplace mantle, you can make this just be, with the 3 little banners, have a scene or whatever. You can change the configuration to whatever way you want it to go. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed these as much as I do. Alright, in order to get started, I'm going to just lay this out. I'm going to allow my hem to come down. I'm going to allow a space at the top, and I'm going to allow my hem to be kind of large. I don't need it to be teeny, and I don't need it to be large, but what I do want it to be is big enough. So I'm going to allow that much extra space for my hem. Always make sure you leave that space, and then I will mark it. Well, I know that this is 7 inches wide, so I think I'm just going to make a 7-inch wide panel and be done with it that way, and then I'll cut it out at the bottom afterward. Okay, so I've used my T-square, and I've marked my 7 inches, and I shall take my scissors. You want to use sharp scissors when you're doing this. A nice long cut strokes, if you will. The nice thing about these banners, you can get multiples out of one banner piece. And you could, in theory, do this without cutting anything at all. Like you could just do a couple and then cut them all out at the end. But for our purposes today, I'm going to go ahead and cut them. Alright, I want to make sure I have my extra bit up here marked, and how long I want that. And it can be any amount. You know, you don't have to have it be a specific amount. use our T-square. And we're probably going to just paint this anyway. I don't even know why I'm marking that right now. So we'll roll on. I'm going to roll on some antique maroon. Okay, I'm going to squirt this right out on here. I've got this extra piece of paper trying to keep my area neat. You want to watch out when you are doing your backgrounds with a roller. It will grab and it will wrap itself up into it, so you can secure it with a little piece of tape. It's a good thing I have an extra bottle of this color. We'll leave this upside down for a few minutes and see if we can't get some more talked out of it. Okay, and just work it. Rollers get into the background of texture much better than... I am going to give it tape. I've decided that fake nails aren't for me, but until I can get them removed, it's nice not to have them be all dirty. Anyway, rollers get into the background, into all the little nappy places much better than a soft brush. And most of our flat brushes and things like that are made out of Taklon fiber. And the Taklon fiber, it bends and it's very flexible. And what that means is that it caves in under trying to push the paint into the texture. Okay, so give it a coat. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and give the back side a coat as well, just one coat on the back side. And I'll recoat the front if I think it needs it. Okay, I've re-wet this entire thing, and now I'm going to load the front of my brush into whatever color this is, Santa Red. And I'm going to create an interesting background. And this is going to probably suck up the red and keeping it towards the middle. And this is kind of a slip slap kind of thing. I'm going in little X's. And see, it's just softening and creating a bright area. You want to do this while it's wet, keeping the toe of the roller in. And remember, it'll darken as it dries. Maybe I'll leave a little bit of extra movement. I really like a little bit of movement with my backgrounds. It's so much more interesting than just a base coat. Okay. My hope is that these creases are going to go away just from the weight of just the wetness and all that kind of stuff. But if they don't disappear after I get the back base coated, then I'm just going to go ahead. I'll just go ahead and take it downstairs and iron it. I haven't moved an iron up into my studio yet. I'm trying to hold out on that. Okay, and I'm going to get just a little bit brighter. See, now really, when we do stuff like this, aren't we making and mixing a whole new color? Like, so really, this is mixing right on our piece. So when we're talking about color mixing and stuff, you don't have to be too afraid, because otherwise I'm going to make you slip slap it into a new color. Might be easier just to go ahead and mix it on the palette. Yeah, but then we wouldn't have that transition. Okay, I'm happy with that, so we'll continue on. As I'm getting ready to trace pattern and put my line on for my hem and stuff like this, I want to introduce you to what we're calling our Ghost Writer. And it is a white soapstone, and it is very much like our Yellow Monster. And the yellow does a great job of marking on the lighter surfaces. This lead is skinnier than this lead. This lead will not fit in your regular mechanical pencil holders, so be aware of that this is a special holder as well. This is a marker that is designed for fabric. It will erase with the saliva just like this one will. It does, because it's white, it's not going to leave any marks on your papers and things like that. Every now and again the yellow can. And then the other thing that we have is this new 8-in-1, which has a yellow, and the way that you use it, Let's talk about this as its own tool, shall we? The 8-in-1 marking tool, it has 8 different colored leads. It has green, blues, dark blues, reds, pinks, yellows, oranges, all that. And the way that you use it is you just dial this little thingy right here to whatever color it is that you want, and then you open it up and it will fall down to the bottom. The way you put the lead back in is you just push the yellow head in and then make it go back, and then you dial it this way. This one is wonderful because it acts like the dry highlighters, so you can highlight your Bible pages or your books and not have that leaking pen type situation that you get with highlighters. And it comes, because it comes in all the colors. One of the problems with the Yellow Monster is it's yellow, so when you're working on your lighter surfaces, you can't get it erased. This does not, the 8-in-1 does not erase with spit, so you do have to use an eraser to get this, to remove this one. Okay, and you do want to make sure that you don't just shove your lead will fall out and it will break, and there are refills for this and the Ghost Rider as well. And the Ghost Rider actually comes in some different colors as well. It comes in a pink and green, I'm trying to think, pink, green, yellow, white. So you can get different leads for it. Anyway, so we now have a plethora of marking devices. Yellow Monster, Ghost Rider. These two erase with saliva. They all mark on ornaments. I've tested them all. They all come off of ornaments. On the 8-in-1, the only thing that I would tell you is I haven't checked it for staining. So, like, don't write me emails and say that I've told people that it would not stain. I'm not worried about staining. I don't do, fine art. I'm marking on a red color. If I need that to not be a little green edge, then I can just put a little paint over it. But depending on what kind of work you're doing, you might want to be aware of that. I don't even know how to begin to test for staining. On the Yellow Monster, I got an email from a watercolor class, and so maybe it was mixing with the water and making a little bit of a yellow haze. So you just want to be aware of how you're using it. But boy, I'll tell you, when you need a darker but not too dark kind of lead, this is absolutely fantastic. And one last reminder, remember with any marking tool, pencils, yellow lead, white lead, colored lead, any kind of marking tool, or graphite, anytime you are putting that on a surface that is still wet or tacky, then you run a risk of making the line be penetrated into the ink, into the paint. So you do want to make sure that you're always working on a dry surface, because otherwise it can grab. We're also going ahead and carrying a new transfer paper. It's not new, but it is Choco paper. And the Choco paper is interesting because it erases with water. Okay, and it's used for fabrics as well. So if you have some fabric needs, then this is the piece that just keeps it all clean. When you mark on your piece, okay, we'll go on to here and just, okay, whoops, try it with a little sharper device. When you mark on your piece, then what you're going to get, okay, well, first of all, here's one of the situations that we all have, right? When we mark on our piece with a blue on our red background, you can't see very much. So that can be a situation you don't want to use the Choco paper. So let's try marking it onto, let's try using the right side, eh? Okay, so let's try marking on light, and then, yeah, the blue's not showing up on the burgundy. So when you mark on the light color, what's neat about this is this will erase with water. Okay, so that line right in the middle there is completely gone. The bad thing about that is, and the good thing, there's a two-sided situation. Okay, we know it's not good on our dark colors, but if it erases with water and you have your outline on your fruit and you float next to the outline, the good news is it erases with water. The bad news is there goes your pattern lines. So if you are a confident painter and you want to make sure that that your graphite lines are going to be gone when you're all done, then Choco paper is 100% what you need to be using. If you are very cautious and you don't understand like where the lines are, and if the lines disappear it's going to freak you out or something like that, then Choco paper isn't the right thing. So you just want to make sure, and it's It's good for inside details as long as you're methodical about how you're applying them. So if I've got a dress with puckers and I've traced my pucker lines on the dress and I go floating over here, I'm going to erase these pucker lines right here. So we want to make sure that either we're using a smaller brush or something to fight that. So it's an excellent tool, and yet it has a caveat. So be real cautious about when you're selecting to use it. It's a good thing to have in your tool arsenal, but it's something to be very cautious of as well. Now, one of the things I want to make sure about is that I've got my fold line for my hem. And then what I did was I folded it under, put my pattern on top. I want to make sure that the fold goes through so that I can stitch on this line right here, okay, because I don't want to stitch on this area right here where I have a decorative detail. I don't want to have a stitching line running through the middle of my checks. So we're going to make sure that we strategically place these things. Okay, so I've just gone ahead and folded it so I don't forget to do it. I have done that before and it's not very nice. And then I will unfold it. I'm going to use my little Ghost Writer and I'm going to mark it so that I remember to stay off of it, just in case my fold flattens out. Alright, now I'm going to trace the pattern. As I'm getting ready to trace, I want to show you a trick. This is shared, one of the tips in the 100 Tips and Tricks DVD. I'm going to cut a hole. This is a very long pattern, and I don't want it to shift while I'm doing this. So I'm going to take a little bit of a hole here. I'm going to get it lined up where I want it, and then try straight on both sides. If my letters are weird and my everything is wonky, then I'm going to be a sad girl when I get it all done. Then what I will do is take a piece of tape and just use regular old tape. Anyway, and now I've wonkied it. I'll show you and then I'll straighten it out off camera here. Tape that over, and then what that does is it makes it so that I can put my tracing paper above and below, and it's not going to move at all, but my tape line isn't at the top where I can have a big shift in this. So this will keep everybody nice and straight. Yeah, the nice thing about anchoring your piece with these two pieces of tape is you don't have dangling tape that hangs out anywhere. I can fold up my pattern, tape it to itself, and everything is undangerous, if you will, because sometimes I can create a big mess. Okay, so yay! I'm getting excited. This is going to look awesome. I can't wait to see. Actually, let's take a sneak peek now. Okay, so here we are. Oh yeah, that rocks. That is just going to look so wonderful. Okay, now let's paint it, huh? I'm going to tape my checks. And then make sure you braid this down with your fingernail. Make sure your paint is dry. Oops. Yep, way too much tape. Now what you can do if you want, this is another little helpful tip, if you want to not have to worry about matching that line up with this line, take that back off and tape it with the other side. I can tape this all the way down to that trim line, and then I won't need to worry about matching the two lines together exactly. Sometimes the paint doesn't go all the way. I can do the same thing up here. Give myself a trim piece. And we're going to apply antique white. Now we could do this with a brush, but since we've got it taped, we don't want to risk putting the brushing the paint underneath the tape line. So what we'll do instead, and now that I've got my lovely neat table put something down there so I don't mess it up. So I'll just tap with the makeup applicator into my paint. They don't suck up the paint like you would expect like a sponge to do. And then by tapping straight up and down on top of it, A, it's easier to cover over a dark color, but B, it doesn't sneak under your tape line. So, and we want to be careful about how high we're pouncing, otherwise I'm going to end up rebase coating here. So if you're worried about that, I'm just going to go ahead and mask over here with this bag. Masking is your friend. And with all tape, you want to take it off as soon as you've got base coats where you need them and they're dry. Now if I wanted those little sprinkles to come off of there, because they're probably already just a little bit dry, and while I'm waiting for this to dry, give that a moment, then I can dip my my wave eraser into my water, and I can erase those little puppies right off of there if I'm really worried about it. And then you blot with a paper towel. One of the tricks that I always do with my tracing paper is I try not to keep it in a big format. And this Choco paper is the perfect application for it. It's going to be to use it where these checks go, because then I won't have any remainder of any line. And so what I'm going to do is just cut off a piece that I can reuse and reuse and reuse. I'm apparently failing cutting. And then I have a big piece if I need it. So if I can get it off here. Okay, and if you ever have stuff that's too strong, you can always wipe it off a little bit. So use our straight edge. I didn't need to trace this line at all earlier. Just being goofy. Sometimes, you know, you forget what you know. Which is what DVDs are for, right? To remind you what you know. Okay, I think I'm going to make this one just be a bit skinnier. Okay, and so then what we have here is we have these lovely blue lines, and then what we're going to have is blue lines that we'll erase with water. Okay, and we will tape those as well. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 checks, so I guess it's going to end up uneven no matter what I do. And we want to go ahead and allow the chocolate line to show. I could be just like an inch more generous with my tape, and then maybe I wouldn't have to struggle with it so much. You want to be careful because, like right now, this is freshly dried paint. So if I get any chipping, I'm going to be sad. Yuck. Okay, I've also added cross tape right here so that I don't get it onto my border and stuff. I'm going to take my makeup applicator and I'm just going to use a sharp scissor. I highly recommend these tiny Gingers. They do a good job. You don't want those rounded edges though. Nice and sharp, and they just do a great job. Okay, so now I'm going to, that way I get 2 uses out of this same sponge. I guess you could wash it out too, which would be very intelligent. Okay, so we're just going to get, I'm using soft black. And why am I using soft black? Let's talk about that for a second. If I used black, then my colors are going to be more stark, more strong, and I just really felt like I wanted to keep kind of a muted, antique looking effect going on. If I wanted more contrast, I would have gone with the black. Now this still leaves me open to lining with black if I decide I need a little bit more impact. I'm taped to paper. I think that probably having a slicker surface would probably be better, but oh well. Okay, and then always, of course, we take our tape and everything right off. Tape is your friend. All right. Now get that dry, and we can add our border. All right, when we are dry brushing, I'm going to keep this out so that you can see the loading of the brush. We're going to use a dry, Patty's Favorite dry brush. This is cut like an oval glaze, meaning that it's shaved from side to side and cut like a filbert. And mine is getting a little bit ratty, but I think it'll be okay. You take the brush and you just dig a little bit of a paint out of the pile. You don't want to pull a big monster amount out. Okay, now let's get you in close. Like, believing is the big part of this. People don't want to believe this, how it works. All right, so we're going to pull out just a little bit of paint, and I'm going to walk back and forth in this little puddle of paint. We're going to work dirty brush. I'm going to move from this color to this color to this color, darkest to lightest. Okay, I'm going to just work that in, work it in, and what I'm looking for is a wad of paint on the top, and that will be the top, not the part we paint with. At no point do I want to see big rivers of paint down here on your palette. Okay, so I want to work that in. The juicier my brush is, the less work I'll have to do, and if I don't have to work hard, then I'm going to be very happy. We want just little skims of paint to come skittle in off of the end of this brush. Okay, so I think this is good. It's nice and shiny on the top and flat on the bottom, okay? So then I'm going to come over to my paper towel, and it's got to be a flat folded paper towel, and I'm going to do one skim, only one skim. Okay, then come onto our piece. I'm going to keep this close just for a minute. Normally this would be black. I think we're going to be okay with the red. If not, then we'll have to backtrack and base coat. I love dry brushing because you don't have to base coat though. Okay, so we're going to skim the color on, staying within our lines. I think because we are on this burgundy, I think I'm going to go ahead and make this kind of edge to edge skimming. Shape following. In this case, everything's a straight line, so we're okay with the shape. But we'll make sure to go just a little bit edge to edge. Normally we would leave the black as the first base coat. I'm not base coating this. You can see the red underneath it. Reload, one flick on the paper towel. Okay. Flick on the paper towel as I reload. Okay, so then we'll just continue, just cutting on through the letters. I'll put those back on when I'm done. And it's just little flicks and skim. I'm turning my brush to a chisel. I am up on the toe of my brush. I am not leaning on it hard. It is just skims of color. You can see that it's kind of splotchy and stuff like that. Reload. Making sure I don't have saddlebags. Always flick after you've reloaded on your paper towel. I say saddlebags are those little edges that you get on your paintbrush that are like ridges on each side. And whatever you see on your paper towel is what you're going to see on the project. So if you see a big ridge of paint, that's going to come onto your project as well. So it's good to be aware of. Okay, I think I am changing my mind looking at what I'm seeing. I think I want to go ahead and base coat the leaves, but I think we're going to use the color down here. So now for base coating, my brush will be loaded, just flatten paint. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and get that all based in because I'm not liking the red peeking through. If I was on the background, black would be the color before the green as a shadow color. Dry brushing is
using the background as your shadow. But if you need to fake that, then what you do is you base coat and then dry brush from that point up. Okay, and then when you have multiple conflicts of lines coming on here, I'm just going to base right through them and reapply my pattern. I think most of you know how to handle a base coat.
We have two fantastic new, again with the new, right? Devices here. This is a rollerball marker. What this is fantastic for, it has a wider kind of tip with a really good rolling end to it. And what that means is when you're trying to trace on fabric, then it's not going to poke through your paper like the pointy, like when I use on wood and stuff, I use the fine tip stylus. Okay, but when I need to be putting something onto fabric, I need something that will roll, and I need something that will not poke holes. So this is like a dedicated stylus. It has a comfort grip, so it's got that rubberized grip. And so then you can just roll along on Happy Land on your pattern, okay? This one is the same. It has the same thing, except for it's a 3-in-1. And so that is your, let's see what color it is. This is your gray graphite, okay? Then you twist it, and out comes your roller ball. So that's your tracer. And then you twist this one, and out comes the white lead. So you've got a gray and a white all on board, and your stylus all in one fell swoop. So this is remarkable. Like, I'm loving this. You could probably, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to say probably, but I believe this lead is the same size lead as the replacements for the Ghost Rider and the other colors. So I think you can buy the refill and then just put them in there if you don't want a dedicated charcoal color. And I want to find, let's go down here to the base. Now I'm going to I've gotten up and been walking around and doing some things. So now I'm coming back to my palette. What I want to do is I want to go, my brush was clean, I dried it out, and now I'm going to dirty it in the first color because that's going to make a sub color. It will automatically mix it. If I leap too fast, too far in my values of colors, then I won't have a very pretty thing. So I want to make sure that I am using the color in my brush. Dirty brush is very fantastic for making harmony in your painted piece. So you're always looking for harmony, things to get along with each other. We should send our politicians and our other people a memo, huh? Okay, so flick on the paper towel, and then we keep this color inwards of that dark color. Okay, and then reload, reload, reload. And then we're leaving where there would be a shadow line, like where things drop over and stuff. We want to leave those areas. Okay, so this area would be shaded, this area would be shaded, and to the sides. So we're just going to go ahead and leave those. Make sure that you turn your piece so that you get a good angle on things. So we just continue building the highlights. You know, part of me wants to show you everything and the other part of me doesn't want you to fall asleep. So if I show you what I try to think is enough, and try not to do anything surprising when I'm painting, and turn it back on. Sometimes I think that's why we're a little jiggity-jaggedy there. This area down here is going to be darker because it's in the back, so I'm not going to give it as much highlight, or I'm not going to take as many colors up the highlight chain of command there. Okay, so the things that are on top are going to be a little bit brighter. And we want just this nice even skim. Now this kind of dry brushing is the kind of dry brushing that makes it look like dried paint was used.
The other kind of dry brushing that people sometimes confuse dry brushing with is what I call dry rubbing. And that's where you take the paint and you remove all the paint off of the brush, and then you just do like a rouging or a rubbing type effect. That is definitely a completely different technique. If you were doing the dry rubbing technique, then you would get is almost a fuzzier look. I choose to do the dry brushing technique because more often because I don't like how fuzzy the look gets with the dry brushing. I like the dry brushing, or the dry rubbing, sorry, even I do it. I like that look with stuff like the center of fruit and stuff, where you won't be able to see how much different the texture is. That's a real good evener outer. Okay, so we're just increasing these. You're going to start seeing now, when we get next to this edge over here, we're going to kind of bring that paint all the way over to the edge, because you wouldn't have a dark edge right on top of a dark edge. That just wouldn't make any sense. And this is when I'm teaching classes and I can have the visual. This is very much like hairs. Okay, so like here's the first layer of hairs on your head. You got your hair, then you layer another layer on there. Pretty soon, if you have enough of those layers of streaks, which is what we're getting here, is little tiny thin streaks or scratchy brush marks. If you get enough of those, it starts looking very well blended, and you can't see through it anymore. And so that is the overall goal, is to make these streaks be just enough so that you can't see through them and they start having form. Okay, I think on this point, I think I've talked about everything I can think of. Okay, I've got all my leaves done, and I'm going to go back in, and I think I want to repeat the highlight using this color. I think I'm getting enough of a difference. Now I'm going to go smooching in just a little bit so that I'm not doing, I don't want to do the same exact place that I did before. So I'm going to use a little bit narrower, almost like a pyramiding type effect, so that each time I cover less area. And we will want to build our highlights now, starting where we want our highlights to be brightest. So we would spend more time where things bend or they turn or whatever like that. And you can see, if we get in really close, this is what people don't believe. When I took from Rosemary West, this is how much paint I have on the top of this brush. That's nuts. And then the flat side is what I'm painting with. But if you're not juicy like that, then you're not going to get this streaky look. So you've got to make sure it doesn't come out as vibrant or something. And I'm not really sure how this works, but all I know is it does, and it looks awesome, so I keep doing it. Okay, so okay, so just continue to repeat. Get all my junk out of the way here so I can turn this. One thing when you're dealing with a longer surface like this, it can start running into things. Thankfully it drapes over the edge of the table and you can roll it. Now the care for your rock lawn, let's keep that care for your rock lawn in that we do not ever fold it once you start painting on it, because then you will crease it and you will never get those creases out. So make sure rolling is okay, and then we've been hanging them with a skirt hanger. Here we just put like 5 or 6 of them all together in a skirt hanger, hang them in the closet, you know, and you can just hang them just like that. I put them into cardboard sleeves. Somebody, I think somebody from Florida, and I can't think of the name, told me that she rolls them around gift wrap tubes. I like the hanging thing the bestest because that's the easiest to do. Okay, so now these aren't getting much brighter now, so this tells me that I'm done with this color. And also by repeating this color, that makes it so that there's less of that dirty color, so it really is a third color. You never want to dry brush when things are wet. Now this one, remember I showed you I had so much paint in it. I'm going to wipe it out, just not wiping hard, just wiping out. And then I'm going to go into my third color. Okay, and then I'm going to build that color up. And when we're looking on my palette, you can see that this color is different than that color. Okay, so we've definitely made another level of color. And when I'm blending on my palette, I'm blending quite hard, quite firmly. Okay, now this color we're going to stick where the sun shines, pardon my pun. Okay, so we want this to be where if I'm lighten it from above, the sun is going to be shining like here. Okay, like on that bend over leaf. And so we want to hit this where the sun shines, or in larger open areas. Definitely the top. And this is going to be a reduced amount of coverage. A little tickle in here where it's brighter, letting that shade cascade down on it. Flick on the paper towel always. One of the reasons you flick on the paper towel is to be able to tell what you've got coming off your brush. The other reason is because it disallows or makes it so that you don't get a really sharp sit-down line on your piece. And these guys right here in front are going to get a nice, lovely, brighter look. See how they start taking form? Okay, so we'll get those in there. Okay, and then... Okay, I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and get the other body of my pineapple done. I'm just beefing up a couple areas here. You know, when we balance our colors, that's like a really important step. To not just take it at, if you're a soft painter and you're painting, I won't name other artists, but if you're painting a Patricia Rawlinson who's a heavy painter but you're a soft painter, and she says highlight, then highlight again, then highlight again, or maybe I'm a soft painter but you're a really heavy painter, and maybe you don't need 2 coats of this olive yellow color or the Hauser Light green color. So, you know, you've got to assess it for you, how you paint and what your pressure and what your color preferences are. So, you know, make sure that you're just, you know, you're gauging it on what you like and what looks good on your piece. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to stop futzing with this as soon as I hit them all one more time, right? And, yeah, we needed a pop on there. Okay, and then I'm going to see what my pineapple says to me. After I get my pineapple done, then I'm going to know some more stuff about that. Okay, now we're going to switch colors. Yay, switching colors. That always means we're making progress, right? And so now this one, we're going to want to keep these lines straight up and down in these little guys. We're going to load fully into our milk chocolate. We have a little friendly meeting going on out there, so if you hear the voices, just laugh along and know that they're having a good time. And for some reason, we can't get them to hush. Okay. Here we go. We are going to keep these, I want to go long, so I'm going to turn it a little bit sideways in the middle and then go wide. This first red color is going to be our first shadow color. Okay, so, and that's about how much we want to fill that in. Okay, so keeping these on the angle, this just has dried, and notice how much more tone on tone it is than it was before. And this is going to look like a little quilted design. I do have my brush kind of on the side a little bit to be able to get those shorter kind of strokes. I could switch to a smaller brush. That might be like a really bright thing. I tend to be kind of stubborn, and so I tend not to do that. But a smaller brush would make this a lot easier to do. As soon as we're done with this step, we're going to erase all the white lines so that you can see in between them and you don't have so much, you don't have the white lines distracting you.
Okay.
Oh, I get so excited when we start getting like progress made in a painting.
Okay.
I think I'll show you one or two more and then I'll finish the other side. Okay, up here under, I told you I'll never leave you where I don't show you stuff. Underneath this leaf here, we want to leave a little bit of the red and not bring it too far out. So you just want to tickle that in under, but leaving a little bit of the red right next to that edge. Same thing over here. Treat them as little separate things. I've totally got my brush on its chisel edge right now. Completely. Okay. So we want to just leave, the red is like the shadowy area, so now we don't have to shade. There's no floating. So that just self-shades just by avoiding the area.
So it leaves the dark behind. And we'll want to treat the edge of the star the same way. Now we'll go ahead and we'll erase. I'm using, the neat thing about these wave erasers is they come to a real fine chisel. So I can get right in the middle there and get my lines erased. It'll take the dry paint off when it's just fresh dried, and it'll take the, it won't touch your paint when your paint is nice and dried. So it does just a little bit of both. And it'll also flatten out and do nice big flat areas as well. So I like that there's options with this eraser. Okay, so we're going to go in and we're going to repeat the same color, keeping it more in the middle, focused. So stay away from those edges, and that'll just strengthen the streaks. Just brightening everybody up just a little bit. Okay, the next color we're going to do is we're going to go wipe our brush down and go dirty brush into Camel. No, this is Cocoa. Cocoa. Okay, flicking on the paper towel, starting where it's going to be the brightest. Reloading as you need to. Always flicking on the paper towel. And we don't want to cover up everything that we've already done. So you want to make sure that you're keeping it to the centers of these sections while maintaining your form. Sounds easy, doesn't it? And just build those little diamonds up. Next, we're going to repeat in the center of the pineapple. So we don't want to take it all the way out to these outer sides.
We're going to repeat here in the middle to bring it to a kind of a point. This will be our center of interest, or it'll be just more center highlighted to give you a high place in the middle. Okay, so this gets faster and faster each time you're doing it. If you're ever pressing, sorry to interrupt myself here, if you ever find yourself really pressing, then it's time to reload your brush. that's when you reload. Otherwise, you're going to end up
Make it a big blob.
and big blobs are always ugly in dry brushing. So keep everything over to this side. Okay.
Now we'll go dirty brush. If these get too big, you can mist them down with the first color. I'm going to go ahead and wipe off some of that brown. Ooh, some of that brown. Now I'm going into Golden Straw. So now, once again, if my sequence is milk chocolate, cocoa, golden straw, and I say do golden straw twice, or I say do cocoa twice, do you have to do that twice? Well, not if yours is already there. You start in the middle and brighten it up. Okay. And this will make our pineapple look a little yellower, which will make us happier. I was walking through the grocery store with a pineapple in my cart, and every little kid in the planet that was in Walmart pointed out that I had a pineapple, and they were just like, oh, ah. And I couldn't figure out why they were so excited about me having a pineapple. I just thought maybe it was their favorite fruit, and it turns out it's what SpongeBob SquarePants lives in under the sea or something like that. And so they thought I was carrying around SpongeBob's home, which I got a chuckle out of. Okay, so we're keeping that to the inside so that gets highlighted. I'm trying to decide if I want to bring any of this out at all. Maybe down here. Maybe a little bit more highlights right in the middle's kind of hard. Yeah, that's making it look a little bit better. A little tickle here and here. When you don't have very many of these little sections, then you've got to bring a little bit out to those outer sections. Pardon me. And this one's much stronger just in these middle sections. Okay, we got our barn star painted. Now what we need to do is we need to mark with our pencil where the dividers are, and we'll use our straight edge too. Okay, got it into there and out there. Okay. Now each one of these gets another subdivide, and so we're going to need to know where this is so that we can highlight it straight. Okay. Alright, so then what we're going to do is we are going to dry brush on our highlights using, let's see, the base coat of it is Uniform Blue, and then we're going to use French Blue for the dry brushing. Okay, and so then we're going to want those in the highlight spots. And so this is where we start flipping everything around and getting a good angle going here. Okay, so I'm going to go right next to the line. Dry brush, but right chisel edge. And then just walk it out, just a faded look, walking out, keeping the line straight. Okay, then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. I could float this, but I think part of the fun is to show you how you can do things differently. Okay, that's high, and then let's get this one up there. Same kind of thing, get that so it looks like a high part of the barn star. And I'm going to go dirty brush into a little bit of the antique white, and I'm going to give that a line straight down the middle, just to make it look more raised. Now for our shading, I am going to go ahead and float. I'm going to use deep midnight blue. And that's just going to go up one side and then up the other side. Okay, now that makes it look a little dimensional. Now on our red, we're going to use the soft black to shade. We'll go ahead and get the shading done right now. We'll highlight in a minute. Okay, so that's going to be on all these low points. And we're all done. Oops. We need the cherry red or the Santa red, I guess. The tips. And I guess I'm not dry brushing this, am I? Well, there are more than one ways to skin a cat. The Santa red almost strikes me as the fluorescent colors or the fiery red kind of thing. It's doing kind of the same deal. And I may float this and then decide to do some dry brushing to bring it out a little bit more. I think it could stand just to have a little bit of extra oomph. I highlight the star peaks, the white part, with the antique white. Oops, I got there. Okay, see, I'm not liking how dull my red is still. I think we'll take that and dry brush some of the red. Flick, and just bring that red color out just a little bit. See how that just perked that right on up. But by having our float right next to it, I think that just makes it be a nice clean edge. If you go through your if you go through the shadow color, it doesn't matter because this color is sheer, so it'll be just like you meant it to be that way. so now this is looking crispy and this is looking a little bit shaggy. And so we want to fix that. It's because we base coated and not base coated. So back up just a little bit, and then I think what we'll do is we'll go into an angle brush, and I think I want to give a little bit of this red color kissed onto our pineapple, just to chisel it up just a little bit and to make everybody be a family member. A little bit of red into our leaves. Let's kiss just a little bit of red here and there. Let's see what we like. We could dry brush this, we can float this, whichever way you want it. Got some stars drawn on. I'm going to go ahead and paint them in just as little A's with crosses. It's just a real lazy man's way of making a star. We want these to not be real noticeable. I mean, not like there's anything wrong with them, but we want them not to steal thunder. That one's stealing thunder. Okay, I'm thinking I want to float on my pineapple with the soft black. I'm hoping I'm not wrong. Just behind the barn star. Kind of glaze it out. And then since we did that, let's shade underneath the leaves just a little bit. Just sink those down as well. I'm puffing now because I'm making decisions in my brain. Okay, we need to come down here, and I thought I knew everything I was going to do up here, and now I've changed all my mind. I think what we're going to do is do the welcome friends, the welcome in the khaki tan. So we'll see how that looks once we get the first letter on there. Well, I think it'll show, huh? So what I do is I first get the straight lines done, stroking towards myself in shorter strokes to keep things straight. Don't try going sideways and all kinds of other stuff.
flatten that paint. Get control of your paint when you're doing the details, like the top and stuff like that. You want to control that paint. That's why I do them in separate things. When you're doing a long straight line, you need more paint and a little bit of water even. When you're doing short and controlled, you need zero paint and lots of focus and control. I use the chisel of my round, this Pro round brush. You've got to have one of these at least. Maybe the number 2, number 4 size. I use the 2 an awful lot. It does your strokes and it does everything just perfectly. Okay, I think we'll leave that like that. And so go ahead and base all the letters. I went with the yellow with the cocoa on the Friends word, trying to carry this color through. It's the same base coating technique that you used above. And I'm thinking that the reason I'm going to choose blue for this little star is because that's the color that I have down below, and we've got to repeat that. We don't want to have isolated colors. So I'll get that on there. I'm not certain I don't need a mini barn star up here and a flag kind of thing, but we'll see how we get it when it's all blue. Okay, maybe that needs some detailing. Okay, I'm going to cut off the bottom of my sponge. Got my taped band on here. We'll go with the dark color first. And I'm going to screw up my table. I've been trying so hard today to keep this clean. Okay, and then while that's still wet, I'm going to go into the lighter color and squunch it off on the palette, and then just kind of do a highlight up the middle of that until it blends, and then I'll take my tape off. Yeah. And I think it is time, dun dun dun, to trim. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, and I'm not quite done with the edges and stuff like that, but I want to see how this is going to do. So I'm going to cut in to the tip. Sharp scissors, long strokes. Okay. We want to kind of cut right on that blue so that we don't end up with a little bit of burgundy outlining. Cut that away. It probably would help if I had longer scissors in this case because I'm doing longer lines, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. Right on that. And I can just cut down to there. I want to get rid of some of that excess stuff. How clever is this? Okay. Let's see where this gets to. So I'll flip that in there like this. And now we look and see, do we need any more stuff? Kind of liking it. Okay, I do think I need a little tickled highlight in the blue star up top. So I'm just going to dry brush a little bit of a highlight there. Just to brighten it up. got our line. Maybe I'll brighten that up just a little bit too.
I think we're going to get our big Super Duper Patty's Favorite dry brush out, and we're going to antique the edges with a little bit of soft black, which is just a wash float. Now my table's really going to get messy. Of the soft black, I think that's going to add some depth to this. Okay, we'll get it over here. Keep it off our letters. And then the question becomes, is it enough? I want to make sure I don't have a ghost line going through here, so I'm going to go ahead and soften that. Just in case. I don't want a big black ghost line. Okay, and then I think one of the last things I can think of is to do a drop shadow line in your soft black. Off to whichever side this is, the left side. Oops, keep my hand out of my float. I think we're going to have to do the under as well. Let's get you in a little bit closer. And I can't decide about under. I'm thinking maybe not. Okay, I decided that we needed some vining of some sort happening here to carry this color. So I've got my brush, and I think I'm going to mix some of the soft black in with my green. I don't like it so green, but I want to repeat that green. That's what's bugging me, is I'm not getting that. Okay, so I'll have just a little bit of maybe I can have a little bit brighter. Out here. And not so much liking that. Okay, I don't know if this is getting me my green down here, but I've lined on the first batch of my vine with the milk chocolate.
And then I'm highlighting it with the cocoa. It does bring the eye down there just a little bit, and so now I'll have that drift off. And then maybe just a touch here and there of the yellow. And then we'll do some finger dot berries. And actually, I'm going to go get a new tool that we're going to bring in. As I went to go tell you how to make finger berries, I realized I have these monster long fingernails, which are not going to do me any good. So we have these berry makers, which are wonderful. And so we are going to use them instead. I'm going to need to go into just Santa Red. You just tip it in, and then wherever you want, it's going to be a little bit bright, we'll have to shade that down. A berry, it self-shades them. And let's make a couple little clusters there. We can make some little ones. And then we will wash off our berry maker. And then I have to get out my darker color because those are too bright. You could base coat berries and do that kind of thing, but so I want to just shade one side of our berry. I'm just using a dry brush technique in my round brow. Whoops, too much. Well, you can sure tell this is when I want to get done with my projects because I start doing shortcuts all over the place. Okay. I think I'm wanting to sneak in a little bit of green down here. Let's add just a little bit of green, little berry leaf kind of things. And then I think let's give us a little bit of a green. Wait, every time I put green down here, I don't like it, so now I'm going to go take that out. This is the scribble erase method. Some of you who are better at this than I am are probably sitting out there going, Patty, use this color. Okay, I'm going to switch to a smaller berry maker, and I'm going to double load a couple colors on it. Wondering if I can be done. Dun dun dun. Okay, so I think how cleverly cute is we've got the little star hanger, and then I'll hem this. You could Velcro this or hem it. This comes out, and then these little things screw to the wall. You can screw it to your wall or hang it just up in the upper center. But like, oh, don't you love it with its little pointed cut tips. And notice how that just does hang, you know, straight down. It doesn't curl, it doesn't do all kinds of stuff. I'm going to give this one coat of varnish because it's going to hang inside if I was doing it outside 2 coats. But don't over varnish, remember that. Okay, enjoy.